All right, let's talk about something really cool. We're going to dive into this amazing connection between a super popular video game and some seriously cutting-edge biology. We're going to see how the crazy, chaotic plague in the world of dead cells is actually an almost perfect model for a real-world scientific problem that affects millions of people.
So this is how the game Dead Cells describes its plague, the malaise. And this isn't just some spooky flavor text to set the mood. No, this is a creeping infection that has literally destroyed an entire kingdom, and really getting a handle on it is the key to our whole story today.
Okay, so to really get this connection, we first need to understand the world where this plague ran wild. We're headed to the diseased, monster-infested island where the game takes place. And let me tell you, it's a grim, beautiful, and just relentlessly hostile place.
So in this game, Rogovania, if you will, you're this immortal creature trying to bust out of an island that's been completely consumed by this plague, the malaise. Every single time you die, you lose your gear, you lose your upgrades, but you come right back, maybe a little bit smarter, to try all over again. The whole island is trying to kill you, and it's all because of this one infection.
But this is where it gets really, really interesting. The malaise isn't just part of the story, it's an actual game mechanic. It's got these very specific escalating rules that are designed to make the world more and more dangerous and basically to just create total chaos.
As a mechanic, the malaise is this constant pressure, right? It's like a ticking clock that punishes you for playing slow. The longer you hang out in a level, the more that infection spreads, and the more hostile everything around you becomes. You're not just fighting monsters anymore, you're literally fighting the world itself.
Now, check this out, because this is how the threat builds up in layers. It's not just a straight line of things get harder. At first, new enemies start popping up out of nowhere. Then, suddenly, all the enemies are attacking 4 times faster. And then, to top it all off, they get a 60% strength boost. See, the world doesn't just get harder, it gets way more chaotic and completely unpredictable. And if you dig into the in-game story, the picture it paints is even darker. The malaise doesn't just kill you. It twists you, it causes these horrible mutations, and then, in the end, it reanimates the dead into the very monsters you've been fighting this whole time. It's a disease that is actively working to make the world a worse place.
So, there you have it. A fictional plague, a system designed for escalating chaos that just completely overwhelms its environment. But what is so fascinating is how these core ideas echo a very real, very complex biological struggle that can happen inside our own bodies.
Okay, this is where the parallel starts to click into place. In medicine, when you have a chronic wound, think of something like a diabetic ulcer, it doesn't just heal slowly, it can get stuck. And it creates what scientists call a hostile microenvironment. The body's own healing process just breaks down, and the wound itself becomes the enemy of recovery.
And this just lays it out perfectly. In dead cells, the malaise spawns new enemies. Well, in a chronic wound, inflammatory cells flood the area. In the game, enemies get stronger and faster. In the wound, destructive enzymes go into complete overdrive. The game's spreading infection is a perfect mirror for this state of chronic, unresolved inflammation that actively destroys the very growth factors your body needs to heal.
So here's the crucial point. In both cases, the environment itself becomes the enemy. In a hostile wound, you're not just fighting the initial injury. You're on a battlefield where your body's own repair tools are being systematically taken out by inflammation and these out-of-control enzymes.
And this leads us to the next incredible parallel, because in the game, there's this desperate, all-consuming search for a cure called the panacea, and that quest, it has a surprisingly real-world counterpart.
The entire loop of the game is built around this idea. You fight enemies, you collect their cells, and then you bring those cells to this mysterious character called the Collector, who's trying to create the panacea, the ultimate cure for the malaise. You are literally gathering the building blocks of the cure from the infected world itself.
And that brings us smack into the real-world problem. You can't just, smear some healing proteins or growth factors onto a chronic wound. And why not? Because that hostile environment, with all those destructive enzymes we talked about, it just chews them up before they can do any good. It's like sending a medic onto a battlefield where they are the #1 target.
So scientists are developing this absolutely brilliant workaround called ex vivo gene therapy. And the process perfectly mirrors the game. First, they isolate a patient's own cells, just like collecting cells in the game. Then they genetically re-engineer those cells in a lab to turn them into tiny factories that produce healing factors. And finally, they put them back into the wound, where they're protected and can just continuously pump out the cure right where it's needed most. It's amazing.
So all of this brings us to our final takeaway here.
the unexpected and frankly incredible power of a well-designed game to model a complex, real-world system, even if it didn't mean to.
The way the game's difficulty escalates, it just brilliantly captures the feeling of a biological system in crisis. The way new threats just pile on top of old ones, creating this vicious, self-perpetuating cycle of chaos, that is exactly what happens in a chronic wound, where inflammation and tissue damage just keep feeding off each other.
And look, we're not talking about some obscure game. With over 10 million copies sold, Dead Cells has, completely by accident, become one of the most accessible and intuitive ways to understand the challenge of chronic wound healing. Millions of players now have this gut-level understanding of what a hostile microenvironment actually feels like.
So, the next time you're battling some relentless boss or navigating a completely chaotic game world, it's worth asking yourself, what elegant, complex system is this piece of fiction helping me understand? I bet the answer will surprise you.